This is the Retirement Planning University podcast with Jordan Schwartz and Phillis Pulvinas.
Phil, you got something I know you get fired up about. You get hot over annuities. I can't think how many times I've watched TV or a banner ad or some clickbait stuff or all that where I hear someone saying they hate annuities or annuities aren't good or annuities are bad. And I personally think that it's irresponsible for someone to generalize an investment that way without educating the consumer what they are and how they actually work.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times those talking heads, I want them across the table from me, Jordan, because I don't even think they understand what they are exactly.
Why do you say that?
Yeah. Why? Because how could they generalize? How could they throw the baby out with the bathwater and combine, all the features of a variable annuity with a fixed index annuity and a fixed annuity, all of those together? How could you do that in 5 seconds? How could you possibly say you're a fiduciary? How could you say that all annuities are bad in 2 seconds flat? Or I hate annuities. How could you do that? If you really understood them?
What's interesting to me is look at Enron as an example. Now, if you're listening and you don't know what Enron is, it was a company, it was in the mid-2000s. They went belly up because they were lying to the shareholders, a bunch of manipulation. It was a stock. Phyllis, do you say Apple or Amazon or Tesla is a bad company because Enron was a bad company?
Absolutely not. Yeah,
it could be the same thing with the annuity. I look at it like this. Some annuities are bad. You can maybe twist my arm and say most annuities are bad.
Oh, you could twist mine and say absolutely most are bad.
Exactly. But the problem is not all are bad. It's this all or nothing black and white thinking with annuities that doesn't work. It's not accurate. So when we think about annuities, let's just list off for anyone listening, what are all the different types of annuities? And then maybe we could do a little bit of categorizing. Are these good? Are these bad? Because some are going to be good for some circumstances and some are going to be bad for other circumstances. So let's just line it up. What are all the different types of annuities we've got?
Okay, so first you have the immediate annuity. It's just like Social Security, a pension. You give the money to the insurance company and the insurance company says, mine, and I'll give you a paycheck upon our agreed terms. And they will. They'll give you that paycheck and you'll get it, whatever the terms are. But call them up and say, hey, I changed my mind. I want to do this. Done. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's very stiff, if you will.
So the word immediate meaning it's immediately going to generate you a stream of income for life.
That's right.
But
That's right.
Once you turn on that spigot of income, you can't turn it off. That's the insurance company's money. Yours is a paycheck and a chunk of money. I think that's something too a lot of people don't necessarily understand about annuities. So we got immediate. What else?
So then you have what I would say 9 times out of 10 are the bad boy of all annuities. And that's the variable annuity. They're the bad boys out there. and sometimes even if you've got the bad boy, and I meet with a client who's or somebody who has the annuity, you can't fix it. So you got to work with it in the plan. You got to make it the best it can be. But really, when those talking heads are talking about bad annuities, they really probably have got to be talking about these variable annuities.
So maybe one of the safest assumptions is when you hear someone saying annuities are bad, don't buy an annuity. It's almost always variable annuities, probably 9 times out of 10. So what makes them bad? 2 main reasons. Number one, variable annuities are super duper expensive. What's the average variable annuity fee, Phil? Probably 1 to 3, maybe 1 to 4% per year.
Easy, maybe 3 to 5. Easy.
3 to 5. Easy. Twist my arm, maybe a little higher. So they're super expensive. Which to a consumer out there, I'd say the most someone should pay in fees would be for like an overall strategy, 1% in fees. That's a reasonable number, simple rule of thumb. Variable annuity is going 3, 4, 5 times beyond that number, which right out of the gate, if you got a $100,000, you're basically starting off, you have to make $5,000 before you make zero. That's insane to me. So if 1 is fees, 2 is risk. And we think about an annuity, Phil, someone needs an annuity if they want to take, with a variable annuity at least, they want to be able to generate some income in the future. But usually, from my perspective, annuity usually is associated with safety. And the problem with the variable is that they go up and down a lot.
Yeah, anything but safe. And what drives me crazy is one of the expenses of the mortality and expense fee. And what you are doing is you're paying the insurance company to guarantee that the money you put in will be there for your heirs. So won't go down in the market for your beneficiaries. So why put it at risk in the market anyway, if that's your goal? Why pay them not to lose your money?
How much is that fee usually too?
Oh, geez, 1.25%, 1.5%. With the admin fee, it's ridiculous. Right out of the gates, you're paying somebody to guarantee that they won't lose your money. Well, I got a concept. Don't let them lose it to begin with. Put it somewhere safer, right? That bugs me. Bugs me.
So when we think about annuities also too, variable annuities can go up and down, which maybe for some, there could be a time and place for this. For someone who's maybe younger and wants to be risky and doesn't need money for years, we know time in the market is what works over long periods of time. But for someone who's near retirement, let's say within 10 years, I don't think a variable annuity is going to cut the mustard with that.
Absolutely not, unless you add one of those super expensive, complicated, got to be a Philadelphia lawyer, read the prospectus from top to bottom, income riders, okay? That you're going to get guaranteed a paycheck. Very expensive way of doing it, very complicated way of doing it, not the best way to do it. Most people don't understand, including the advisor who offers it.
Mm.
You know what I'm talking about?
That's where the issue... Do you think that's where the issue lives? Because I think when we're talking about people generalizing annuities and saying they're bad, it's almost always variable annuities. But do you think where a lot of the problem lives, or why there is a negative stigma, is most advisors who are recommending annuities don't know the ins and outs, haven't read an entire prospectus from cover to cover. They don't necessarily even know what it is they're actually recommending.
That's exactly right. I don't necessarily think the advisor's there to mislead and just run away with their money. They don't actually know it. And, they've been explained the virtues of this product high level, and that's where they go and they run with it.
Phyllis, would you recommend a variable annuity to your mom and dad?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't recommend it to me.
So next one we got is a fixed annuity, FIXED. And maybe the best way for the viewer out there is it's like a CD, right? You get it safe. You're not going to lose anything. Maybe the goal of the fixed annuity is to keep up with inflation, maybe slightly underperform the rate of inflation. But would you recommend a fixed annuity? When do you think that, if there was a time and place for it, when would that be?
If it's right now, if it's a short window of time, like for short-term money, maybe as we're doing tax conversion planning, we want to get it off tax return, money in the bank. My problem with that is they're not a bad instrument. You know what you're getting, but who's to say that a year from now, the government's not going to pull the rug out from underneath us with interest rates, and you can't get any interest on your money in the banks or in a fixed annuity. So they're not quite ready to promote those yet, Jordan.
So really you have with a fixed annuity, it's not that right now they're a bad investment. It's more that how are they going to look in 1 to 3 years from now? Rates eventually are going to drop. And when they do, realistically, a lot of those annuities rates of return can drop, right? It's a board of directors, people you've never met with before, and a dimly lit room determining what the rate of return is going to be for those investments. So maybe a better way of saying it is it's not a bad investment, but there's a little bit less transparency with how you're going to grow.
That's exactly right. I'd rather see that than a variable annuity because there's no fees. You know what you're going to get. What you see is what you get. Clear, just like CD.
We got immediate, we got fixed, we've got variable. Next one we've got, and this is where if I'm recommending a strategy to a client or to my mom and dad, the one that I would use is the indexed annuity.
Yeah.
And the indexed annuity, it kind of gives you the good of the fixed and the good of the variable and cuts out all the junk. So how does an indexed annuity work? Let's do this. Let's just get into the details on how one of these actually works so someone out there can see what are the inner workings, what's the makeup of this?
Well, first let me just say this, high level. It's the middle ground between the rock and the hard spot. The hard spot is the fixed interest rates, the CD like annuities, not keeping up with inflation. The hard spot is the volatility of the market. It's not designed to be as good as the market when the market's going up necessarily, but it's designed to beat that CD, and slow and steady wins the race. Okay, You're not in the market, but the insurance company gives you the opportunity to participate in some of the market growth, reasonable growth, and lock it in without any market volatility being exposed to your portfolio.
So the way it works, whatever index you're tied to, and there's different indexes, where I think if someone doesn't like an indexed annuity, it's because maybe the advisor hasn't shared how those particular indexes work, which not all are created equal. There are some indexed annuities that have better upside returns on the indexes than others. So the way it works, whatever index you're tied to, some form of the market like the S&P, when that grows, you can grow with it up to a point. When it falls, you don't lose, right? You're completely safe. You're completely protected. You're snug as a bug. Now, not only is your principal safe and protected, so is your accumulated growth. So, Phil, if you started off day one with 100K and it grew to 105K, following year, the market goes bananas down, it falls, you're still locked in at that 105K.
Yep.
We're stair-stepping, right? We're stair-stepping every year. Now, sometimes I hear people say annuities don't grow, or index annuities don't grow. What's very, very important is you've got to compare it to its peers. You cannot compare a stock market investment to an index annuity.
That's right.
Stock market's right there for the risk part of the portfolio, but for the index annuity, that's the broccoli in the portfolio. That's the safe money. What's our goal for an index annuity or for any annuity? For safe money, what's our rate of return goal and objective?
1 or 2% above the rate of inflation over time. Zero loss. Zero, zero, zero.
3 zeros. So we want to be completely safe and protected. Our goal is to outpace inflation by 1 to 2 percentage points. It's very important. We're not trying to set the world on fire.
And Jordan, I just got to say, I hate to say this, but a lot of advisors out there tell people that they're there to make a ton of money. And that's one of the reasons people
for an annuity?
Yeah, even with the fixed index annuity. How many times have you sat across the table where someone tells you their advisor said, I'm going to get most of the ups of the markets, but none of the downs?
That sounds like something that's too good to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the boring, safe part of the portfolio. I think what's happened too is sometimes you hear so many negative things about annuities because it's not that they're bad products. It's that the advisor didn't do a comprehensive job explaining. The big thing with annuities too, you got to be aware of. You don't have full access to these monies all at once, right? That's the second string. So string number one is kind of your growth. Your second string, though, is your rate of return. Or I'm sorry, not your rate of return. You're actually how much you can get from those accounts per year.
Yeah. But here's the first thing. Yes, in contract. It's so funny psychologically. You got all your money in the market and it's doing great. And then along comes COVID and your portfolio went down 30%. You just had a 30% surrender charge if you take your money out. But it's liquid. It's a security, right? Now you go to an annuity that's designed to be foundational money, give you an income forever, flexible income forever. And in contract, you're shown that you can't get out if you take out more than what they allow you to take out. There's an assessed penalty, and it's generally no more than, would you say 10%, Jordan, going down over?
Yeah, 10% going down. And it's important too with what you're saying. Most annuities have a time horizon. How long before you can access all of those monies? It's usually maybe 3 on the highest of highs, 16 years. But most of them are going to be kind of 6 to 10 years. And with those strategies, it's not like you can't access any of the monies. Most of them, major medical emergency, premature death, you can get to all of it. But also, too, most of them allow you a 10% withdrawal provision where you can take out 10% every single year. Your point, what's very interesting to me, Phyllis, when have you ever taken out 10% of your investment account? When has anyone who's watching this taken out more than 10%? If you withdraw 10% every single year, it's going to run out of money. Exactly. It's going to run out of money. So to me, and to your point, to me, it's more of a psychological restriction versus something you're actually going to do. Yeah, it's liquid, but there's a trade-off to liquidity. It's risk. It's fees usually. Whereas with the index annuity, and you never want to put all your money in something like this, but this could make sense for if someone's saying, okay, are annuities bad? No, index annuities are not bad. Now, for someone who's maybe in their early 20s, is an index annuity bad? It's probably not good because they're younger.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the thing too. You got to invest for your age. You got to invest for your risk tolerance.
Yeah. What's the goal with that piece of money? I don't care if it's called paper bag. What are we trying to accomplish? And can you show me in black and white how I can accomplish that? I don't care what it's called. If you can show me logically, make me understand what it's going to do. And if it solves my issue, why wouldn't I do it? But if I can't understand it, or, why would I do it too? So it's that simple. What are we trying to accomplish? If I want safe money, would I go to a variable annuity if I understood that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But, same thing with the index annuity.
Well, when I look at it, I think about with an index, if it serves a purpose in someone's portfolio, where does it serve a purpose? I think about two things. Number one, it's probably the best bond alternative that's out there right now, as opposed to using individual bonds or bond funds, which that's a separate conversation for another day. It's a slam dunk, but also with the indexed annuity, we're trying to outpace inflation by 1 to 2 percentage points. And I think if you're looking at it through that perspective, are all annuities bad? No, I don't think you can say an index annuity is bad.
Yeah, let me just give you a perfect example. 1996, my mom was my first guinea pig with index annuities, and the market was raging. It was really going up. And, she, for all intents and purposes, she needed her money safe, the bulk of it safe, because she was young, a widow, and, she had to have it grow. The market was going haywire. And most of my relatives, everybody wanted me to have most of her money in the market. Well, I had some, her long-term money. She couldn't afford to lose it. I had money in an index annuity, and she made 8 to 10% when her friends were making 20, 25% in AOL. And I stood my ground. Along comes 2000, mom still held on to her 8 and 10%. And that's higher than you're going to get today, I believe. I'd say 6 to 8%. But geez, is that a good story? Is that why I love annuities? Is that why I own annuities? You bet. The right type of annuity for the right purpose.
Well, I know in 2009, after the carnage of what happened, my mom and dad actually looked for a company to help them make sure their investments were safe because they just didn't want to experience what it is that they went through again. They went with an indexed annuity. They've been in one for 12, 13, 14 years at this point in time, I think for some parts of their portfolio, which for the right person can make a lot of sense. Now, so we've got deferred, we've got immediate, fixed, indexed, and variable. We're kind of saying immediate's a rare one-off. You need a stream of income for life. Fixed annuity is kind of like a lesser version of the indexed annuity. It's okay right now, but when rates drop, probably won't be as okay. Variable annuity, probably 99 times out of 100, we'd say no to that. Maybe the one-off young person who wants income for life. And then for the index annuity, if it's going to serve a time and a place, it'd probably be the index annuity. Let's talk about the insurance companies, because I think sometimes insurance companies get negatively mystified and kind of categorized as bad.
So meaning from what perspective are you talking? I mean, I can go on and on about insurance companies. You don't want me to do that for days, but.
Well, I think it's really when you're looking at an annuity company, if you were going to work with one, what would be some of the criteria you'd be looking for from an insurance company to say, okay, does this make sense for my specific goals? Is this a good company to work with?
Yeah, well, for me, the days of the AAA rated companies and even trusting the ratings, it's kind of a place to stop, but it's kind of bogus. So I want to know that the insurance company has more on reserve than they contractually need in investment grade bonds and better. And I want to be able to clearly see that. I also want to know that with these index annuities that they've got a good renewal rate history. And they've got good upside potential that makes sense, that's reasonable, not too high because that's just smoking mirrors, but reasonable. And I like the concept that, when I call, they actually pick up the phone. I don't know, that's maybe old fashioned on my end, but I like that.
I like that. Also, I think anything in the A range is good. the triple A plus rated, that's kind of a little bit outplayed. I like American companies to be able to look at their balance sheets and have the strict record keeping that our United States government requires these institutions. Sometimes publicly traded is nice. I think to your point too, if I'm looking at a company and they're small, it makes me uncomfortable because you don't know what those can do. I like, big, multi-billion-dollar institutions. I like to see new assets are flowing to those institutions. And also to your point, you look at the reserve requirements that that they have. I like to see what did they do in 2008. Some annuity companies shut their doors in 2008 when people needed safe money and they weren't able to. But I think it's a combination of the subjective and objective. There's key material facts you need to have when you're picking an annuity company. But then there's also some other things like we're talking about that isn't necessarily as easily quantified, but it's very, very important to look at.
Yeah, I would say I would be hard pressed to look at a company that's like a B plus. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. A minus is
so Phil,
average.
So I'll play some scenarios. I'm just going to name it off to you. Talk about would an annuity potentially be appropriate for this person? So I'm 68 years old. I need an income stream for life. Could an annuity make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say I'm 55 years old. I've got 10 years to go for retirement, but I want to start securing some of my money. Could an annuity make sense?
Yes.
Let's say I'm 60 years old and I love being 100% in the stock market and I want to be risky. Does an annuity at some point still make sense?
No. Maybe, but no.
Here's the question, though. Should someone be looking at that versus do they want to? See, I would argue.
Yeah, that's true.
I would argue someone who's 60 years old or is within 10 years from retirement and they want all their money in the market, that's a bad beat. That is not going to work. The chickens are going to come home to roost on that thing and they're not going to be squawking the way that you want them to. It would be advantageous to take some risk off the table. But to your point, not everybody's comfortable with some time associated with the
I would definitely get out of the meeting and say, they're not open-minded enough. I feel bad that I wasn't able to help them because I'd be thinking that they needed to take some money off the table. But I'd say no.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's an interesting one. Let's use me as an example. I'm in my 30s and I want to put some money aside. I'm still doing my risky stuff. I'm doing my 401k, buying through the ups and downs. I've got an emergency fund. I'm saving other investments. But let's say that I wanted to set aside a portion of my portfolio to create for myself a self-pension in the future, where I could generate some guaranteed income. I'm younger. I don't know if Social Security is going to be there. The word pension in America in 2023 is a dinosaur word. No one's got them anymore. So could an annuity make sense for someone who's younger at that point in the ball game?
We'd have to find the specific right annuity for you. But yes. Mm-hmm. Eyes wide open for sure.
So I think there's some application where, if I'm younger, there are some ways where you could do like a flexible premium, meaning you could put money into it flexibly, where you could build up that pile of money and just keep contributing to it. And then you use a growth focused annuity versus like an income annuity, where you don't need income right now. You need growth right now with income in the future. And that's where what's good for you could be bad for me. What's good for my mom and dad could be bad for Bob and Sally over here. It's really about getting customized and specific with the annuity piece of the portfolio.
That's well said, because there's so many things you can do. If you have that safe piece built in, there are so many things that you can do with that stability. You can take a free withdrawal. You can go back into the market at the down. I mean, I can go on and on and on. That's the planning side of me. Sorry, Jordan. Days. I'll be back to you.
How about this? What is maybe one takeaway that someone who's watching this today could glean some insight into? What's one thing if you're sitting here right now and you're thinking, okay, how do I find some value out of this? What's one takeaway you'd give to everybody on annuities?
Don't generalize the annuities, whether it's good or bad. Be open-minded, find out what you need the money to do, eyes wide open, get a good understanding, and then make a well-informed decision for your best interest. There may be more interest than you think.
I like that. Well, Phil, till next time, talking about annuities. If you all have ideas or tips on what you'd like us to share, put that in the comments below. Also, too, as well as that, if you have any feedback, if you'd like and subscribe, and we'll get it going next week. Casual, open conversation, 2 different generations, 2 different genders, 2 different people talking about money.
You've been listening to the RPU Podcast with Jordan Schwartz and Phillis Polvinas.